Hey there, all you creepers and reapers. Welcome to another life lesson by the Femme Fatalities. I'm your co-hostess, Anna, and I'm here with...
Hey, Grievelings and Frightlings, it's Margaret and Anna. What are we talking with our lovely viewers and listeners today about?
Well, listeners, all of us know the 98 and 2% rule. 98% of the time, people are usually fairly satisfied. It's the other 2% that we're talking about today. And when we talk about satisfaction, we're talking about those around you, particularly in the workspace. So whether it is a client, a colleague, maybe even a supervisor or a boss, how do we deal with that 2% in a healthy, constructive way? So this could be maybe someone who's having a bad day and taking it out on everyone else, someone who's providing non-constructive criticism, maybe voiding part of a contract, all of these different things. Also, clients that will never be satisfied. How do we deal with those sorts of situations and personalities? Margaret, what comes to mind for you in terms of the 2%?
Yes. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is something my mom used to always say growing up when I was little. There are always going to be people that don't like you. They're just not going to like you. You're not going to know why. They just won't like you. So, as a child, when I had difficult people in my head, I'd be like, that's just that group of people that for some reason got something going on. There's something about me, there's something about them. We're not going to gel. Now that I'm a counselor, again, it's reminding yourself that you don't know that person, you don't know what's going on, and it's about them. The rule of thumb, 9 out of 10 times, human interactions, it's about the other person than it is about you. So you can even think, when I'm showing up, what's the 9 out of 10 times things that I'm doing that have nothing to do with Anna? So often we get caught in our head and we're like, I must have done something. What did I do? No, that's where you say, okay, the person's having a bad day. They're angry, they're upset, whatever it is. How do I control my response? How do I process my emotions about this? If somebody around me is emoting, how do I take care of myself? Because, like Anna said, there are people that are just, they got something going on, and we're not going to be able to intervene. And how do you take that? How do you not take that personally and let that, right? What's the facts? Anna's yelling because her order got canceled. What's my role in that? Am I customer service and I'm trying to help her figure it out, or?
Absolutely. I totally agree. And you bring up a really good point that at the end of the day, I control me, no one else. And that is a very, very difficult concept to always keep in mind and accept. The other thing is if you are working specifically with a client, and I think that this is really across the board in many different industries, it is okay to say, I don't believe I am helping you in the way that you need to be helped, or I don't believe we are a good fit. Let me see if I can get someone else in touch with you, or let's explore another option that might be more helpful, or I think you may want to find another professional that would be a better fit. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. I think that there are very respectful, polite, thoughtful ways to communicate that.
Yes. And I love how you bring that up, as well as to piggyback that. I share this with my clients all the time. Rule of thumb when dealing with people: the biggest nervous system in the room is going to control the room, not the most regulated, the biggest. So if I'm dysregulated and I'm yelling and I'm up here, I am going to want Anna to meet me up here. So then for Anna, how does she do her best? And please, people, remember, an elevated, remember, the biggest nervous system is going to do its best. So we might not stay down here. How do I do my best not to be meeting her and yelling? And it's okay, how do I control my voice? How do I put physical distance between us if we're in the same room? What is my body language? How am I starting to, again, keep myself from being hijacked by the biggest nervous system in the room? Even if that you're like, I have to go, and you run
Mhm.
out the door, that's perfectly okay, because you're taking care of yourself. I'll share really quickly. Anna and I think have both worked in customer service. And in one of my roles, I had this coworker I loved. We had a lot of elevated people that would call us. And I could hear her, I am not disrespecting you. I am not yelling at you right now. If you continue to yell, if you continue to disrespect me, I'm going to
Mhm.
disconnect this call. And she said it so calmly. And usually people would de escalate. And every now and then she'd be like, okay, call back later. And she would hang up. And I loved that, right? She was
Mhm.
calling it out. If you're going to continue this way, I'm not going to continue this way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with that, though, there's the other question of how do you maintain your composure and remove yourself from the situation or de-escalate it if it's your boss? Because that's a whole other dynamic. And um, at least from my perspective, I've worked a lot in, more C-suite type organizations. So I think if someone is not completely thoughtful or respectful towards you, the expectation is for you to sit there and take it. If you get up and you leave, chances are you might not have a job after that. So, how do we practice self talk while another character is providing outward communication, not in the most cordial way that we have to endure? And Margaret, you really hit it on the head when you said don't take it personally. And it's very, very hard, especially if you care about what you're doing. All of us care about our job in one way or another, whether it's just because it's our livelihood or we're connected to our clients, we're connected to the work, whatever the case may be. So, how do you take it? How do you turn this into something constructive for yourself? And once again, we are the only ones that control ourselves as individuals. We can't control someone else. But how do we let our thoughts of ourselves always be ahead of maybe some of the not so positive things that we're hearing from others?
I feel like you touch on such a beautiful topic. Well, it's not beautiful, it's just that you're bringing up human dynamics, and you're touching on so often how people are trapped. They're stuck because the person is their boss, or the person is a police officer, the person is somebody that is in a position of power. And so now there's a power dynamic at play. And so I love how you're reminding people, how do you take care of yourself if there's a power play and you have to protect yourself? And the way you protect yourself is nodding or smiling or yes sir, no sir, or what you need to do to get out safely, and then process that with trusted people. If that's a therapist, a friend, oh my gosh, I got pulled over and this is what happened, and this is how the police officer was treating me. This happened at work today. Reminding yourself that you are caught in systems and institutions built on power dynamics, and that the people that have the power are going to wield it. So then how do you take care of yourself? And like Anna's saying, you don't take it personally. How are you, and again, how are you getting out safely if you are caught in a power dynamic to where you're not going to have more harm done to you?
Absolutely. And, sometimes it is difficult to be in specific dynamics, especially acknowledging the reality that most of us can't just stop what we're doing and wait until something else comes along, right? That's not realistic. That's not real life. And I think another important thing to remember is just because maybe your colleagues, your superior the CEO of the entire organization pigeonholes you and sees you in a specific role. Okay, that's how they see you. But how do you see yourself? And what can you do to further develop those qualities that you identify with and you feel that you're most talented in using? No, maybe you won't be able to use all of them in your current space or position, but in the future, you want to make sure they are developed, that you are working on those traits so that you can apply them somewhere else or in another project or whatever the scenario is.
Yes. So I love how you touch on and remind people that if work is where you are disempowered, you have no power, you have no voice because of what's happening and how you're being treated. Where do you find your voice? Where do you find your power? Social media has been huge for so many people. Yes, we could argue we're not getting into the problems of social media today. So many people find their power, find their voice. Or maybe that's through art. Maybe that's by loving your fur babies, your children, where maybe you volunteer in your community. There's so many other ways to say, this is one aspect of my life that's not good. I'm not going to
Mhm.
let it define the rest. So I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to hug my kids. I'm going to play. I'm going to learn the guitar. There's so many things. Give into your curiosities and the things that bring you joy, contentment, happiness, even if it's just a little bit. And you're like, well,
Mhm.
I guess I'm curious about pottery. I'm feeling really depressed because work sucks. Okay, then go take the pottery class. Maybe you love it. Maybe you don't. Maybe you meet somebody that you start to go on walks with, right? There's all these ways we can start to cultivate ourself and our worth.
Absolutely. And just remember that, your student title, your job title, your any title that you have, it doesn't define who you are.
Mhm.
Your qualities and characteristics and traits and your outward behavior towards yourself and others, that defines who you are. So, it's really important. Like Margaret said, it's important to have hobbies. It's important to have a life outside of something that consumes a lot of time in your day. And, I always say there's a reason they call it work. Um, it's job, sometimes, but, some days are better than others. And I think it is important to remember too that if you're having a rough day at work, but it's something that's not ordinary, there are always going to be those 2% people, those 2% moments, 2% days. Try to focus on the other 98%. Now, if the statistics are flipped and 2% is good and 98% is not good, it is imperative that you start figuring out how to better and modify your situation as timely as possible.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. You are the most important person in your life, so take care of yourself. And know that you are loved even if you don't feel loved.
Yes. And anyone out there who's listening, if you are a dean of a university, if you are, high up in that C suite, if you own a mom and pop shop, whatever it is, even if you, lead a volunteer group, remember there is a trickle down effect. If you have people that are involved with your organization that are not treated with equity and fairness, that is going to impact their uh, overall idea related to what they are doing, their position, eventually their performance, and then it is going to start to affect everyone else in similar ways. And then you're going to have a real problem on your hands. So please be considerate of others. Think about equity. Think about when you just started university or you had your first day volunteering or you took that part-time office job as a kid and where you are today and how things have changed, what you've learned, what you can pass on to other people, and how your behavior is going to set the tone and just a role for everyone else to follow. Do you walk in a path that other people want to step through, or is it in the middle of nowhere covered with thorns and vines? What does that look like?
Yes. Yes. Agreed.
So remember, you can control yourself. Really consider your internal dialogue. Find things that are happy and healthy for you to partake in. And if you are in a stressful situation, always know that there are supports and services available. You are more than worth going to a therapist or counselor. There are organizational therapists that work at the corporate level. There are counselors and therapists that work in a very wide variety and genre of different ideas, different ways of thinking, different scenarios, different lifestyles. So there are definitely toolkits out there that they can help you use, and they'll expose you to and really give you ideas that will be beneficial as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So ask for support. You are not alone.
Absolutely. And please make sure that you drink your bruja brew, eat your coffin cookies, and howl at the moon every opportunity you get. And don't forget,
Like, subscribe, follow, comment. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
till next time.